Hi peeps, today we're going to do something slightly different but kind of the same. This was a flight, my last cross-country flight I'd done in 2020 from Devil's Dyke. This was on the 3rd of August. The second launch was around about midday. That's me with the VGD base ready to go for my second attempt. My first attempt I got flushed by the valley on the right hand side and landed in a field that I'd been in before. So this time I was determined to not repeat that mistake. This is me launching. As you can see by the clouds, it was an absolutely perfect day. Finding a thermal wasn't too difficult. On the second launch I had to do a couple of beats, look for any sort of triggers, watch other people going up, and finding this thermal right here was pretty easy. After the first launch, landing about 1.5 to 2 miles away, I had to walk all the way back up. I was actually surprised at how many people were still sat on the ground chatting away, and it was so easy to find a thermal, just get away from the hill. So this first thermal, it took me up a decent height. I was at this point questioning whether it was high enough to be the backside of the hill, but then I decided I'm not going to head back. I'm just going to keep on following the wind direction and see what I can find behind it. At this point I couldn't find much, just plenty of sink. I remember seeing some emergency vehicles in the field. I didn't really want to go and say hello to them, so I kept scratching around and actually managed to find that they were triggering off a thermal in the field they're in. So I tried to follow that one on the way out. That helped me get a little bit further downwind. Just floating downwind, I didn't find anything. I started looking for fields to land in. I thought this was already going to be an early finish to the flight, and then I saw a combine harvester in a field, so I went downwind of it, set myself up for a landing approach just in case I had to go in. Now here you can see me doing a little downwind and do the base before I turn into wind to go and land. And it was at this point that I didn't see the bird, but I saw a shadow of a bird, so I decided to go off to the side, risking it. It was a bit of a low save, and I found the buzzard and the thermal that it was using, and that managed to save the day from that point on. This thermal was obviously one that was being kicked off by the combine harvester in the field upwind of me, and was lovely and strong and kicked off right in front of the A27. This thermal was actually quite good. I could actually start playing with, working on my skills, building on centering inside that thermal. It was a really predictable one. It was nice and solid all the way around, and every now and then I'd find myself falling out of the edge, but I just had to keep on trying. So just then I'd fallen out of the thermal. The edges were a bit raggedy and I wasn't able to centre in it very well. So I've gone a little bit further downwind and I'm trying to find something to trigger off some heat off the A27. There was a small thermal that I got hold of, but it wasn't quite enough, so I carried on going. Now at this point you can see that there is a field with trees going all the way around the edges, except from the downwind side. So I got downwind of that, hoping that area had warmed up, and hoping that that would actually be a trigger combined with the A27 and hopefully kick off. Luckily my hunch was right. Now I started getting to the top of the thermal. It was in the last few turns that I start looking for the direction that I'm going to come out of the thermal in. I was looking further down the South Downs here, and on the right hand side of my track you can see a nice little ridge line. Now I know that Fly Sussex, who I learnt with, fly there, so I did start looking out to see if they were there at all on the day. I was toying with the idea of going down and saying hi. It was at this point where I looked at the road marked there, I actually saw Fly Sussex car going up the road with the trailer. So they were there on the day teaching people, but I thought also to myself that actually I've got quite a bit of height, let's push a little bit further. And then just as I thought that, I managed to catch another thermal. Again, a few turns from the top of the thermal, I'm looking in the direction I'm going to leave in. Now I started going down towards the edge of the ridge just in case I found any more thermals kick off, but I also started looking forward as to where I was actually going to land. Now I had my girlfriend with her mum in the van, they were walking their dogs and they were ready to come pick me up. But as I looked downwind, this would have taken me closer to Eastbourne, and there was quite a large bit of land over there, just over there at the top, which looked very much in the boonies. So I had to start thinking about accessibility to make it easier for a retrieve. So I started heading towards Seaford. On the way to Seaford, I managed to find, for the very first time, the Sea Breeze Convergence. Now, it was quite strong lift, it was quite rough lift, and I wasn't too sure how strong the wind that I was now going into was going to be. So all I was doing at this point was looking for a nice safe place to land. I was in easy reach of the beach. The beach was quite big and there's some fields behind it, but the beach was definitely the safest place to actually land. It wasn't too busy down there. So at this point all I was doing was trying to find a way of losing height. Tried spiraling slightly, but again the lift was quite buoyant at that point, and it ended up being a nice big ears for most of the way down, until I managed to find myself a nice scarce little spot. It wasn't until I landed that I realised with the wind direction I could have probably actually flown those cliffs, but there was no beach at the bottom for a safe landing. So landing right now was the safest thing to do. I actually managed to land right next to a nice little ice cream parlour, which kept me busy until retrieve turned up. Total flight time was 1 hour 48 and the total distance was 31.2 kilometres. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, maybe even subscribe and share. I'll catch you next time.